I don't know a kid who doesn't like ice cream. I mean, what is there not to love? Many colors, sweet, many flavors, just exciting. There's always something new. But if you grew up when I grew up and where I grew up, we did have ice cream, which was a big deal. It was all just basically flavored water, ice, and we had precisely three flavors: vanilla, chocolate, and punch, and that was communism for you. And it was cheap and terrible and uniform all around the country. Everywhere you went, it was exactly the same flavor, because that's all there was to it in Hungary. And well, I don't want to talk about ice cream and welcome to this morning's joke, but what do I want to talk about? Why do I bring this up? Well, I was just thinking about something amazing that is kind of boring, and I was thinking about this ice cream, because of course kids love ice cream, but then it was always the same, always the same, always the same boring stuff. And you had a little bit of variety, but of course, by the time you were 8 or 10, it was, you knew exactly what you were getting every time. And it's always the same flavor. And see, that's life actually. For us, we find something amazing, we find an amazing purpose, we find an amazing motivation, and then 2 years later we realize another motivation has, a greater draw, and then we go after that, and 5 years later we realize, oh, there's a better motivation, and then, after a few of those turns we say, it's funny, like they all end up the same way, they all end up with the same flavor, it's all the same story. You get in a relationship, and then you get in another one, and you say, wow, that's amazing, she's amazing, he's amazing, and then 5 years later you are like, oh, he's the same as everyone else, she's the same as everyone else, and it's it's just kind of boring, I guess. It's just boring, but it was so amazing, but it's so boring. And just like communism could make ice cream boring, the same way our hearts work and actually make everything boring, because in this world everything does become boring, and because everything is the same flavor, there is no difference, and there is only one flavor that's different. And I remember when the walls of communism started crumbling, and I was still a kid and a teenager at that time. I wasn't so excited about ice cream anymore, but the new flavors were coming, and it was amazing. It was like, wow, this is so different. And see, in our lives, when we come to the Lord, we found that there is a new flavor, a fresh flavor, something that we have not known in motivation, in relationships, in fellowship, in joy, in peace, in depth, in so many things. And Colossians 1, the end of the chapter, Paul says, whereunto I also labor, striving according to his working, which works in me mightily. And I don't want to focus on his ministry, but on what he worked with, or how he worked. And he says, it's working in me mightily. His working is working in me mightily. And that's why I work also. That's why I serve. God is serving me mightily. He is working in me mightily. And see, that's the new flavor. That's the fresh flavor in our lives. The Spirit of God in us. God's working in us mightily. That's the only thing in this world that's different. We just had elections. Every political party, it's going to become hollow sooner or later. It's going to be boring. Every world event, it's going to become hollow. Birthdays, after a while, they become boring. You will have had 190 of them, and you will say, oh, another one. They can become boring. Everything, even the most beautiful, wonderful things. But there is one, foolproof way of things staying fresh, and it is this, that he is working in me mightily. And that is something fresh. That's a different flavor every day. There is no comparison to anything else. And it is always new. It is always fresh. It is always something that we have not tasted before. And I just want to read this for the end. It's Lamentations 3. It says that his compassions fail not. They are new every morning. Great is thy faithfulness. See, that's the answer. He has something new, something fresh for us every day. Today also. God bless your day with the Lord.